Paleo Talks. As I said on Thursday, or Tuesday rather, this will be our last episode of the year. So today we're going to wrap up the Cretaceous with a rather long episode on hadrosaurs. And what better to start with than Hadrosaurus, the first of the family. Hey, I mean, you probably figured that out by now. So Hadrosaurus is obviously the first one found. It was actually one of the first dinosaurs found in North America. Hadrosaurus, as with all hadrosaurs, is herbivorous. These are Cretaceous animals, as you probably should have known because we've been in the Cretaceous for, I don't know, a month and a half now, probably more. And this is one of the most recorded, well-known animals in North America. Hadrosaurs as a group are some of the best known, best documented dinosaurs. It's at the point where people in Utah fossil hunting, there's literally hadrosaur vertebrae jutting out of the rock and people just leave it because they have so much of it. It's just at the point where it's not worth taking anymore. We don't need any more of it. Now here's another animal. This is Uranosaurus, something like that. It's I'm sorry about the unprofessionalism. This is actually one of the only hadrosaurs that is not North American. This one is from Nigeria. You can see it has the sail on its back, as you can see here. In this picture, some thought it was a fatty hump like that, others thought it was a sail like in the previous picture. But if you look right there, you can see it also shares the thumb spike of Iguanodon, who we covered 2 episodes ago, I believe. We will not be covering Iguanodon and Parasaurolophus again, even though they are hadrosaurs. I just want to point that out there. They are hadrosaurs, but we're not going to cover them today, as we have already covered them in previous videos. Now here's Maiasaura, which is fairly unremarkable in its size. By the way, this is about the size of all hadrosaurs. I could not find an image for the size of hadrosaurs, but they're all about this size. This is Uranosaurus is a bit larger than usual, but they're all about that size. And Maiasaura rather, means good mother lizard. As you can see here, there are Maiasaura tending to the nest, and the reason it's called Maiasaura is because the first fossils of it found were in a massive area with hundreds of nests, and the adults were there. They think it was like a sandstorm or something that buried them and killed them all. They don't really know how, but we know it was sort of like a snapshot in time that you saw a massive herd of these tending to their nests with the young. And now seems like a good time to bring up the fact that most, if not all, hadrosaurs were herd animals, with herds numbering in the hundreds and definitely in triple digits, several hundred. And again, we have Maiasaura tending to her young, or his young, I'm actually not sure. It doesn't exactly show the genitalia. But that's another thing. We don't know if it was just the females who are the good mother. We don't know if it's also a good father lizard. We have Corythosaurus, and one of the most notable things about it is its crest. Scientists are not sure what it's for. It does not make the tube, it's not hollow like Parasaurolophus' crest, which made like a weird tuba noise. And again, this is on the smaller side of the hadrosaurs. You can see it here. Scientists think it might have been brightly colored as a mating display. And yeah, this is a picture of it. This picture, which is a good point because it's standing upright right now, it's a good time to mention that the main defense of hadrosaurs, besides being in a herd, and therefore an individual is less likely to be killed because there's several hundred other individuals around it, their best defense was to flee, because they could go up on their hind legs and run very quickly away from things. And again, Corythosaurus in a more casual pose, as it would be when eating, as it is. Some scientists think it may have been a swamp dweller, as we see here. These wonderful statues that are put in the middle of the swamp for some reason. But the coloration on these animals, as with all dinosaurs, is unknown. So no one really knows what their skin color looked like. But we do have Lambeosaurus, because we're covered in crested ones. Why not? Right? And its crest, they think, may have also been a mating display, because we just don't know what it was for. And here's another picture, again, of a sculpture put into a real-life background, because I like those. It adds a bit of realism to it, I think. And again, Lambeosaurus also, as with most hadrosaurs, I just theorized since Maiasaura did it, most hadrosaurs, had cared for their young and stuff in this sort of setting where there's the big nest, and the herd individual stays there until the young are ready to are old enough to migrate. As these herds were wide, roving bands, sort of like the bison herds of old, where they could cover hundreds of miles a day. They have territories that spanned hundreds of miles just because of how they worked. Now, Corythosaurus, as we covered Laramidia, this one was alive during the time of Laramidia, and it is one of the more common fossils found in the Laramidia fossil bed. And you gotta remember, Laramidia is huge. It's not just a tiny island in the middle of the ocean. It's like a fourth of the country that's in the middle of an inland sea. So it's like not sure how to say how big it is. It's very large, though. It's not like our traditional islands here, where you could get from one side of the island to the other side of the island in a couple days' time. It's not like that. It's massive. It's the size of a very small continent. It's huge. It's a really big island. And again, so that I did not cover that in Laramidia, the Laramidia video we did, so I thought I'd cover that now and point that out there. And of course, there were a wide variety of biomes on Laramidia, including jungles, temperate forests, swamps, deserts, pretty much everything but Arctic, as the Arctic was not very large during the Mesozoic era. In fact, during the Jurassic period, there was no polar ice caps. Now, there is an interesting amount of dinosaurs that were polar dinosaurs, which actually there's evidence that they survived longer after the 65 million cutoff date for most other dinosaurs. They survived 2 or 3 million years longer. But again, they eventually went extinct. However, there is evidence of that they were more resistant to cold. But generally, the animals that were found there were simply polar subspecies, polar variants of existing dinosaurs. So it's not like it's worth doing their own video on them. Just because I'm not going to be covering any new animals. It's just a new region, and I don't want to spend 8 minutes talking about ice. I will see you next year.